Hello. All right. You're not the only group watching this. There's overflow houses here, so you are a very big draw here.
I actually think it's you.
No, it's not me. But welcome here.
Everybody for being here. Thank you so much.
Just a little bit about Lorrie. She began her career in this business in July of 1991 as Bob Gersh's assistant, right, at the Gersh Agency. And you were made a partner at Gersh before exiting to ICM Partners now 10 years ago, right?
That's right.
You're making history. I believe the first African-American to run
A talent department.
a talent department.
Right.
And just to set the table, a few of her clients include Michael Keaton, Regina King, who's nominated for an Emmy again. She's won 2 already. Anna Gunn, Laverne Cox, Ruth Nega, Josh Duhamel, Lucy Liu, Rodrigo Santoro, Kelly McDonald, so great in Puzzle right now, and on and on and on. You know,
I don't know if you read his review of Puzzle. It was so incredible and so nice. I sent it to her. She doesn't read reviews, but I sent it to her.
Really?
Anyway.
Oh,
No.
wow.
And she doesn't see her work.
She doesn't see her work? She doesn't
Every
read
once in a
reviews?
while
Yeah.
she'll make an exception, but she tries not to.
That's interesting, you know, that actors don't want to watch themselves.
Yeah.
If I made that movie, I'd be watching it every day.
Yeah, no kidding.
Anyway, welcome, and let's
Yeah.
go to the beginning here of you grew up in Southern California like I did, right?
Yes,
You're a
I did.
native.
I'm a native. I was born in LA, but grew up in a city called Monrovia, which is just east of Pasadena. It's the San Gabriel Valley. I thought when I was growing up, I was gonna, I wanted to go back east to school. I wanted to, wear pearls and wear a sweater around my neck. I don't know, like something, like I don't know what that was about. But I went back east to see a couple of the colleges that I was accepted at. And I went during the winter on purpose and thought, oh no, I cannot do this. I cannot do this for 4 years. I will come visit a lot, but I will not live here for 4 years. And so I ended up going to Occidental College, which was amazing and great. And although my fourth choice, I actually wanted to go to Reed College in Oregon, but my dad, who was pretty conservative, said, oh, you're not going to Reed College, forget it. And then he said, oh, wait, you know what? Please, feel free, you're paying for it. So, Oxy, here I came.
He's the mayor of Monrovia, right?
My dad was the mayor of Monrovia for many years. Yeah, and he was on the city council and became mayor for, I think it's like 14 years or something like that, something crazy. And my dad actually made that job something that it hadn't been prior to him. And he really was very influential in turning the city around, in creating a real kind of old-timey, bringing it back to another time. They did a bunch of redevelopment and really made it a destination city for the San Gabriel Valley, created the farmers market on a Friday night, so it was a real family destination place. But yeah, my dad passed away in October of 2015, but his influence lives on both in the city and in me. Yeah.
So, yeah. Growing up in Mount, did you have any idea that you wanted to be in the entertainment industry at all? Was that something that seeped into you because you're from here?
I didn't know what that. I didn't know what that meant at the time. I was always fascinated with movies. I loved movies. I would go. I couldn't wait. In Monrovia at the time, there was only one theater, the Crest Theater, and I would go see the movies like 3 times on the weekend, and I loved television. I loved it all, but I didn't have an idea that there was a job that you could do other than being an actor, and I love actors so much, I could never be one. Yeah, there's a reason I'm behind a desk and on a phone.
Did you know what agents did at that point? You never did?
No. When I was in college, I did an internship at a movie advertising company, kind of by luck, and which doesn't exist anymore, a place called Kaleidoscope Films. and they were kind of the premier marketing company. They did trailers and one sheets, and they were an amazing company. And my favorite thing was I saw Barbara Streisand come in once, and I thought, oh, this is amazing. I was told by someone there, you should go work at an agency. That'll give you an idea of, what you could do in the entertainment business. And the only agency I knew was the William Morris agency. And so I applied there, and that was actually my first job. And I got hired as an assistant there. And I worked for an amazing, amazing agent, a woman named Joan Heiler, and who's fantastic. She's a manager now, and she was just incredible in her sense of, or in her mentoring, and kind of just like pushing you out of the chair, saying, "Go do it," because she being an agent's, don't tell anybody, but it's not rocket science, but you do have to have certain qualities to be a good agent, right? But it's an empirical job. You have to do it, to learn it, to be good at it, to hone your craft. And I thought, I could do this job. This is interesting. Putting people together, creative people together, this is really interesting. But it wasn't interesting to me at William Morris. It felt very political. It felt very male. It was not a place that it felt like I could grow, right? And so I got introduced to Bob, and he said, I want you to be my assistant, and we'll reevaluate in 6 months. And he was true to his word and made me an agent, and that's where I learned how to be one. And I think when you work at a smaller agency, and the Gersh Agency is a boutique company, it's been that way for its entire time, and it's an incredible place to learn, and they're amazing agents at the Gersh Agency. And it was a lot of fun, but it was time to move to a place that had more toys to play with. And that's when I moved over to ICM.
Did you ever meet any resistance in the business? Being a woman in a position of power at an agency?
The most overt resistance was just, I was told by a guy at William Morris, who is not alive anymore, so I'm not going to say his name. But he said, you'll never get promoted here. You're too fat. Yeah. And so you wonder why I didn't want to work there. But yeah, really, but he only said something that he was thinking. He thought he was, but it was a great motivating tool for me. Like, I'm going to prove you wrong, and don't worry about it, and I'll be better somewhere else. Wow. Yeah.
So you go to Gersh, how did you develop your own relationships there that weren't once handed to you by,
Right.
Gersh?
You know what? It was just about networking. I tell the young agents at my office this all the time. It's just, be a sponge. Go out. Meet people. You never read everything. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what someone can lead you to, or who someone can lead you to. And my very first client was a young woman named Kelly Martin, who was on a show called Life Goes On. And I met her through her mom, and we just hit it off. We were both young, and she was at a smaller company, and it ended up being an incredibly fruitful, amazing relationship. And I think a week later, I signed Adam Horovitz, King Ad Rock from the Beastie Boys, and so I had a very sort of eclectic list. Yeah, so it was a really, and at the time at Gersh, a man named David Gus, who was also an incredible mentor in the sense that he allowed me access to a lot of his more experienced clients, John Turturro, Annette Bening at the time, I'm trying to think who else, a guy named John Getz, who's an amazing actor, and so I got to, again, learn on the job. And you know, I loved to read always, I still do, and it has helped me so much in my travels throughout the business because, you know, I think it really hones one's taste. You really figure out what's good and what's not good.
Is being an agent just like what we saw in Entourage? Because that was I just, you know, throwing things across the office.
Yeah, I mean, you know, my soon-to-be former assistant, Jimmy's here. I throw things all the time, right? But by the way, everybody, Jimmy Martin is my assistant, but not for long. We've just promoted him, and so.
Speaking of being an assistant, I saw a movie once. Kevin Spacey was in it, actually. It was called Swimming with Sharks. Scariest job in the world, I would think, would be being an assistant after seeing that movie.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, no kidding.
Crazy.
No, I think that, you know, certainly Entourage had some hints of what happens, but exaggerated a bit. Exaggerated, just a bit. Yeah.
I mean, you know, sometimes, you know, you're putting them in jobs and things like that, and do you get blamed if it doesn't work out, and then they go and, you know, is it hard to keep clients?
Listen, I think that it's always difficult, especially in such a competitive business, where you always like, where's my edge? Where am I going to get my edge? And listen, there's so many ways a movie or TV show can go wrong. You sort of never expect it to work out and be a success, but you hope, and you just have to hope for the best. And listen, careers are long, and everybody has made a movie or been in a TV show or done a commercial or been something they wish they hadn't done. But you know what? You move on and you find the next great thing.
Your list is so impressive of clients now. They obviously have great respect for you. They don't? Okay. So naming names. No. What would, you know, talking about assistants here, when you were an assistant,
Yeah.
do you remember particular things? What was the wildest thing that happened to you, you know?
Oh my God, that's actually, it's a great, do you remember on David Letterman's show, he used to have this segment that he called Brush with Greatness? Do you remember that, right? So I had one of those moments. I got invited to a Christmas party that a well-known manager and, I guess he was manager and producer, Sandy Gallen. He was Dolly Parton's manager for many years and her producing partner. And so he was having a Christmas party, and his boyfriend at the time was a very good friend of mine. So I got invited to the Christmas party. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And I ended up getting to talk to one of my biggest idols, and that was Bob Dylan. And it just so happens that he was there, he was outside, and this goes back to reading, guys. He was by himself, and I thought, okay, it's now or never, right? And it's like all you hear is like you know, just all the songs in my head. So I went over to say hi to him, and it turned out that he knew Joan, the woman I worked for at William Morris. But I said, oh, I've read this script that you optioned. I thought it was so incredible. And I love that it takes place on a carnival. I have a friend who's a director. He goes, wait, you know that script? I went, yeah. And I think it was called Circle of Confusion, although I could be wrong about that. And so he said, sit down. What? Okay. All right. So we ended up talking about the script, and I told him about Penelope Spheris, who did, you know, Decline of Western Civilization. She also did Wayne's World. She's an amazing filmmaker, but she grew up on a carnival. And I said, you should meet her. And it turns out Decline of Western Civilization was one of his favorite movies. And so so that was super fun. That was fun. Yeah, I have to say.
Those are great. I mean, you know, who would you say your biggest mentor is in this business? Role model, somebody that you emulate and look at and say.
Well, there are a couple who probably don't know that they're my mentors, but I loved the way they carried themselves. I loved their business. I loved their verve. I loved their energy. A woman named Dolores Robinson, who is a longtime manager. She at one point managed Wesley Snipes, among other people. And a woman named Helen Suglin, who manages Larry Fishburne to this day. I think Eric Stoltz too. Maybe she manages. Tony Howard, who actually brought me into the company at ICM. She ran the department at the time. She's 75 years old, and man, I hope at 75 I'm as badass as she is. But she's incredible, and the way she handles her business is so inspiring, and she's been a great, great mentor to me. And yeah, there's a few of them. And I couldn't, you know what, I would be remiss if I didn't say my grandmother, Mary Carr, my dad's mom, was probably like one of the greatest influences on me. Like one of the coolest, so smart, so like, you know, she was a housekeeper. My grandfather was a construction foreman. When she died, she left each of her kids a house, and little, but beautiful houses. And she was just, her influence on me and all of the grandkids in the family just is immeasurable. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention her.
Wow. What's a normal week like for you? I mean, I'm wondering, with agents, you have to read so many scripts. You've got so much coming in. We were just talking about a new movie that's coming out in November that I happened to see today, and you'd already seen it. And I go, it doesn't even have end credits on it or anything. You know, they said, oh, this is our first screening. Well, apparently not, because you've already seen it because you have a client.
Because I have a client in it. He's talking about a movie called Green Book.
Green Book, yeah.
That Peter Farrelly, of the Farrelly brothers, directed, and it's completely different kind of movie than what you associate the Farrelly brothers with. So you will be surprised, and I think really dig the movie. It's Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali are the two leads. My client is Linda Cardellini, who plays Viggo's wife in it, and it's just an incredible story, and it's a true story. And you know, you have two titans of acting at the helm of the movie, and they're really fantastic.
It's a winner.
Yeah.
Believe me.
It's a beautiful movie.
Look for that. But I was just getting to the point that you see so much. You've got to be running all the time. You got to stay on top of things here. You know, in that business, it's so cutthroat.
Yeah. You do. Listen. The great news is that it's just, I think being an agent it's an incredible job. It's been a privilege. The idea that I get to help in some small way art get out to the world is really exciting to me, and I'm just always filled with gratitude because of that. You know, I've seen half the world because of my job. I remember going to Sundance for the first time, and I was seeing 4 movies a day, sometimes 5, and thinking, someone's paying me to do this. This is insane. Someone is paying me to do this. This is my favorite thing in the world. And so, you know, so I got lucky. But, you know, I think you also make your own luck. And so, again, it's just about being focused and really doing things that you feel passionately about. And this has been, you know, and again, I said a little bit earlier, you know, I really, really love actors. I think you guys are an amazing group of people, and I could never do this job because you know, I get rejected all the time on the phone. I don't go in rooms. People tell me, no, that's okay, not you today. It's like, I just could never do it. But it is a remarkable, remarkable job, and it's really, you know, an honor for me to get to represent actors. I think that's been really a dream come true.
Are you working more on email now, or is it still a business on the phone? Because agents always had a phone attached to
always
their
on always on the phone, but it's really a business of texting and emailing now. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, not when you have to have a, you know, business conversation about a deal, or if you have to tell someone something difficult, you don't want to do that by text or email. But, you know, it's still hard to tell someone they didn't get a job.
You're very involved in the Time's Up movement, and that's really transforming the industry. I'm wondering, from your point of view, how it's changing things, just in this year, how you've seen changes because of that and other kind of seismic changes in the business.
It's funny, we had a retreat last month, and really the organization, the movement's 6 months old, right? And started last October, and late in October, with a few women getting together to talk about, what's life in this business gonna be like post Harvey, right? And I think the idea that we collectively as a group wanted to create and amplify the desire to have both women and men be safe in their work environments just was necessary. And that's how we all sort of came together. And God knows, the actress component of Time's Up really amplified what was going on and in our group. And I think the Legal Defense Fund, which was a very important step for us, the idea that it's not just about entertainment, it's about helping men and women across all industries to feel like they can have an option other than silence. And the Defense Fund, in just a few days, had raised $22 million. And already there have been 3,000 people processed in all different industries, in the military, at McDonald's, at Walmart. So very, very important, I think, to give people the knowledge that silence isn't your only option.
Wow. It's really impressive in that amount of time to have gotten that far already. It's
and we say all the time, this is something we say all the time in meetings, we're sort of building the plane as we fly it. And because it really did sort of take hold in a very significant way. And we're not going to get everything right, but I do think our primary goal is really solid and valid. And, and it's about helping to create not only a place of safety, but a place that's filled with equity and represents what the world looks like, right? And because this business for a long time has not represented exactly what the world looks like.
Starting to now. I mean, slowly but surely, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. And how is Twitter affecting things? I mean, it just seems like every day there's some disaster happening on Twitter somewhere. This is why Pete don't tweet, because I do not want that.
Yeah, I just retweet.
Yeah. Retweet is dangerous too.
I know, but
they
that's
actually go and look at, look what they retweeted.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Trump gets in trouble all the time
Right.
on that.
As he should.
Yeah, is that something? Is that something you ask potential clients? Do you have a Twitter background, or?
No. That certainly can manufacture itself pretty quickly. Yeah, it reveals itself pretty quickly. But no, really, it's about, for taking on a client, it's about talent. And I mean, if there are other things we have to contend with, then we'll deal with that. But yeah.
What's the biggest challenge you find now in your job? As you go along, it's probably ever evolving.
Listen, the thing that's most exciting about this job and this business really is also the most terrifying, is that you never know what's going to happen. And it's a fantastical business. It's incredible, the kinds of things that happen, and you understand why people are drawn to it, But I feel like it is incredibly competitive. The landscape has changed. I mean, I think for actors, there's never been a better time. There's so much content that is being created. There's so many avenues to explore, and so that is exciting. Yeah, I mean, the best scripts I read this pilot season were for Facebook. Amazing.
For Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a new outlet, actually.
Yep,
Facebook.
it's a new outlet, and I'm assuming. Listen, I don't even know. I'm assuming it's going to have like a, Netflix, or have an icon on your TV or whatever. But gotta say, the scripts were fantastic. Apple's going to make some real noise with the content that they're creating. Really incredible shows. Really, the scripts have been amazing.
And of course, Netflix is like trying to take over the world, basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
Netflix did a presentation that they invited all the agencies to. We had different days. I guess they thought there were going to be square-offs in the lobby or something. But it was incredible because we had this array of information, sort of how you feel like when you turn Netflix on, you go, oh, okay, I don't even know what to watch anymore. And there's just so much content and so much, it's incredible.
Is there too much content? I mean, certainly John Landgraf at FX, man who's creating much of this content, are helping to facilitate it, actually said once, and it caused a lot of controversy, there's too much content in television right now.
Well, I don't know if I feel that way, because I do feel that it allows voices to be heard that maybe wouldn't have been heard otherwise in traditional modes of communication. I think that's interesting, and no, I don't think there's too much content, actually.
YouTube's certainly a way to get yourself seen. Anybody can go on YouTube, and do you find yourself?
I don't go on YouTube. Not generally, no. Yeah, maybe if I want to see Whitney sing the Star Spangled Banner, right? Like I like, there's no. It's like you need a dose of that. So that's kind of what I use YouTube for.
It's great. Now I want to ask you some questions that they're very interested in.
Okay.
Which is about them.
Okay.
So, right? You want to know about you.
The aha moment.
Okay. So how do you get an agent?
How do you get an agent?
Is the first question that we can start with here.
Right. I don't know. How do you think you get an agent?
All right. How many of you have agents? Okay. How many of you don't then? Okay. And of those who don't, put your hands down. How many really want an agent tonight?
Meet my friend Jimmy Martin. No. No.
Okay, so how would somebody...
So listen, there are a few different ways. I think if you're just starting out, I would say go to a class, find other like-minded people, go to the AFI, be in as many shorts as you can be in, because you never know where someone who's talented. They have everybody. Soderbergh started somewhere. Catherine Bigelow started somewhere. So find those avenues that get you on film, so we can see something. Because honestly, for me, it's just I gotta see it, right? And so even if it's a commercial, even if it's a short, even if it's a scene on an episode, if there's something, then I want to explore it. A lot of agencies will let you do monologues. Some of the smaller agencies will let you do monologues. I think
just walk into their offices and start doing like wilderness.
Yeah. Now you don't just walk in, but some people will, like, you can be in a conference room and do a monologue. Just yeah. And a lot of agents meet clients just through referral. So it's knowing lawyers, knowing managers, knowing other executives. It's hard. And by the way, a lot of younger agents will monitor some acting classes, some of the better known ones. We always send agents to all the showcases that people do, just because you never know.
Is there a way that they can just bump into an agent? Is there a watering hole for agents somewhere that you can just sort of like, hi, like that, and just sort of like get that one-on-one time, sort of make it seem like an accident, but not really?
Let's see. I'm thinking of the ones I don't go to. No, I'm just kidding. Jones on Santa Monica, a lot of young agents go to. Really? Yep.
Okay. Yep. That's good advice right there. Mm-hmm. Jones on 3rd, right? Or what?
Jones on 3rd, but also Jones, the restaurant across from the Formosa.
Okay. All right. They're writing this down over here.
And I do go there every once in a while, so I'm not being cagey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're from out of town, that's daunting too, to come into LA. It's such a scary place.
Yeah.
It's all in a car. It's not like New York where you can walk places or things. You have to know where you're going. Any advice to out of town? How many are from out of town that have come here to Be a Hollywood star.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's what I would say. Again, you have to find you got to find your tribe. You got to find your squad, right? In certain areas of the city. Otherwise, it does feel super daunting. But I do think that again, I would check out classes. I think that's always helpful. You can work the muscle that you need to work. I would investigate theater here in LA, which is tough. It's obviously not as prevalent as in New York, but again, it's just flexing that muscle a little bit, I'm trying to think of another watering. Oh, the Chateau, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Chateau Marmont.
Yeah, it's a good place.
It's
right there.
Yes.
Write that down. Okay. Do you have a strategy for the kind of client that you're looking for? Do you know what you're looking for before you see it?
Here's my strategy. They have to inspire me.
That's it?
That's my strategy.
And what inspires you?
When I feel that someone can communicate using not only words, but their face, their ability. I love to watch the stillness of certain actors. I find, like Kelly MacDonald, who you talked about in Puzzle, she has and I saw her at my very first Sundance, and she was in a movie called Stella Does Tricks. And it was about a teenage prostitute, and it was before Trainspotting had come out. Wow. And I'm like, I have to represent her. I just, there was something that just spoke to me. And that's really...
Over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just knew...
I had to work with her.
There was something you saw on screen. But you mentioned before that you need to see some sort of film. You need to see that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about someone who's connecting with their feelings, who inhabits a character. You don't see them, you see the character, you don't see the acting.
The thing I loved about her performance in Puzzle, and other things she's done too, but the camera is really on her in
Right.
Puzzle. And so much of great acting to me is in the eyes.
100%.
And there, it's not, you don't have to utter a word of dialogue, but you
Yeah.
see things happening with
Yeah.
this. And this is a classic kind of performance that does that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that you can see. So you look for that
Yeah.
ability
Yeah.
of people too. What else do you look for?
I also respond to actors who understand that they're being in the world, and a responsibility for being in the world, and what they need and what they want to convey. Work with a woman named Laverne Cox, who is
Orange is the New Black.
right,
Just
and she understands that who she is as an actress and who she is as a person are meaningful, and the kind of work that she wants to put out in the world says that about her, and I love that and respect that so much. And so the idea that I got a chance, and we haven't worked together that long, but it's been a couple years, but the idea that I got to work with someone who knew that they wanted to bring art into the world, but that art would reflect who they were.
Do everybody has ups, downs, setbacks, successes. The hardest thing must be the failures. And how do you deal with that with your clients? How do you get them through that when something and some of them are very publicly failures?
Right. Yeah. That's a difficult thing. I think I said this a little bit earlier, but one has to remember that careers are long. Okay, careers are not just your last movie or your last episode of television or your last series. It's about creating a mosaic that represents who you are. Some of those pieces of the mosaic aren't going to quite fit, and they don't quite work. Many of them are, and it's just about knowing that talent wills out, and every career has ebbs and flows. I don't like to say ups and downs. Every career has ebbs and flows, and it's about just trying to make those ebbs and flows not so dramatic and not so drastic. And the idea in a career is that you have a number of parts that feel seminal, that feel like a demarcation point for you, where you see the growth in what you've done and what you're doing, and it just resonates with so many people. Not every part's going to be that, but you want to navigate the waters in a way where you get to do those things that are heartbeat moments, where you feel like, I have got to play this part, and you do those things, and then you do those things that are commercial, that feel like amusement rides, where it's like, it's really fun and fast for 2 minutes, and then it's gone. But those things help you do the arty ones, right? The puzzles of the world, the
ones that need the most help to even get made. I mean, it's amazing to me, talking to filmmakers all the time, how any movie ever gets made.
Yeah.
I just don't know how.
I
But
know.
agents don't get credit for putting these packages together and all the things to actually get these films
Well,
made.
all of the larger agencies now we all have film independent departments where we do go out and try and find money for movies to help them get made. What's that? What's that noise?
Somebody's vacuuming in the back.
Oh, okay.
or
I was like,
something.
the hell?
Anyway, yeah, but you do have all these kind of departments
Right,
that are
and
getting these
at
indie
our
movies.
company, we have a number of high net worth individuals that contribute to film. We help film finance companies come together to package a film. You have to have certain at certain budgets. You have people who are meaningful in the foreign market, and that's because they pre-sale the movie. It's just, can be so cumbersome, but when people are adept at it, it just can help make your life so much easier. And thankfully, we have a great group at our company.
Is it frustrating to you that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences still will not give aid? They give, Mike Gardner votes in the Oscars. No, but a lot of people have votes in the Oscars.
Right.
But forever, decades, they won't let agents vote. You
I
can be
know.
an associate member, and there's
Right.
a movement on. I know it just got turned down now, but they can try again in 6
Right.
months, and they keep coming back. But why do you think that is? I mean,
No, it's weird because executives can vote, publicists can vote.
Exactly,
And so, there aren't that many of us that make such a difference that it's going to change the course of some award. I don't know. It's an interesting question. It is
Yeah.
frustrating.
It is. I think I remember when Gregory Peck was the head of the Academy, and he said, I'll never give my agent the right to vote. It was this kind of prejudice
Yeah,
that he
it's
had
weird.
against his agent or something.
Well, it's still there.
It is, isn't it? Some things
Yeah.
never change. Well,
Yeah.
I hope they do, because the more I talk to agents, the more I realize
Yeah.
it goes way beyond,
Right.
And speaking of that, though, do you have your clients come to you and they know about some project and they say, get me into that. How do I do that? How do I, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what happens?
I had an email today. Is there anything for me in Top Gun 2? Yeah, and I try to generally be ahead of the curve. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you have friends that know about movies or have have more success and have more access or whatever, or stars, and so you hear about stuff. But yeah, that's our job, is just to be able to then go and say, okay, this is why you're not getting an appointment, or this is why you are. But our job is to help create opportunities, and it doesn't matter where they come from.
Do you favor one client over another, or are you trying to be
Oh,
like
sure.
Switzerland? You do?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
No.
I'm trying to get the juicy stuff right now. Okay, you don't.
No.
No, it's talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's why.
But but again, for the great news for me is that, again, I get to work with people who inspire me, and that really is what it's about. And and for the work that you get to do, you should feel inspired. Can be hard, certainly, but whenever you do a job, it's about like, what's the lesson you're supposed to learn? What are you supposed to get from this? And maybe it's just about learning how to deal with an asshole. I don't know. Figuring how to manage your time on a set, learning how to whatever. But again, be a sponge and find out what that lesson is that you're supposed to learn from whatever you're doing.
Just now when you said I learned how to work with people who inspire me, I thought I heard I learned how to work with people who fire me. And yeah.
I've been fired.
Have you?
Yeah.
Really?
Everybody's been fired.
See, I couldn't do that. I couldn't take, when you talk about not being able to take rejection,
Right.
that's taking rejection
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, especially if you're having a great deal of success, and sometimes people just say, I think I want to try that candy store over there,
Wow.
and it happens.
Goes with the territory?
It goes with the territory. It's part of the business, and but the good news and the lesson that I learned was that there are always wonderful actors for me to go find. And I want to get to work and partner and invest in those actors, and
It's got to be satisfying when you do, and you find like
Yeah.
that Kelly MacDonald
Yeah.
and watch that career
yeah.
go. And
Or listen, Michael Keaton came to us. Must be 6 or 7 years ago now, something like that, and came to us, via 2 other agencies, and. It's been such an incredible, fun ride to watch a guy who's given such pleasure to all of us, right, in so many of the roles that he's done, and had been sort of off the grid for a little while, and I think a little bit self-imposed, but it's been so fun to be able to really have him be at the forefront again of movies and great movies, and Birdman's literally that performance in that movie.
Oscar
is,
awards, Oscar nominations,
Oscar
all of
nominated.
that. That
Yeah.
he really did come sort of. We hadn't heard of him in a
Right,
while,
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he came roaring back
Yeah.
in interesting kinds of roles.
Yeah, so it's fun. And he reunited with his old friend Tim Burton, so he's going to have a movie out next, Dumbo, and some of the scenes look amazing. I can't wait for people to see it.
What's he playing in that?
He's playing kind of a, he owns a circus, and, kind of a naughty guy. I'll leave it at that.
Have you seen it yet? Any of it? Have you seen?
Just some scenes.
Yeah, because the cartoon knocked me out.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know if I can take it.
I know.
If it's a real live-action Dumbo. Okay, well we'll have to wait for that. I've got some questions from you guys. Unfortunately, you didn't put your names on these, so if you recognize your question, just yell out your name. But I'm going to ask this one: what responsibility do you feel as a role model for women and for people of color?
I feel who wrote that
Who
question?
asked that?
Who asked that question?
Anybody?
Oh, you do? Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
And
if it's
we
someone
are
in
on,
another room, hi.
Yes. This is live.
It's, no, I feel a great deal of responsibility. Listen, there were some of the women that I mentioned before, like Dolores and Helen Suglin. There was a woman, an African-American woman who worked at ICM named Sheila Robinson, who's no longer with us, whose shoulders, I stand on. I'm doing this because they paved the way for me. Part of my job is to be a beacon for other women and other people of color. I 100% think that's a responsibility. And that's just doing my job well, hopefully.
You obviously have made it. It's in quotes there. I just read the stuff, folks. Okay, is there anything you still want to accomplish, which is interesting?
Wow, that's such a good question. Wow. I don't know, maybe produce something at some point, I think produce my, own form of art, putting something together, maybe at some point. I have to say, I love being an agent, though, and it's really been so unbelievably joyful for me for so much of it. So I do love this job. But yeah, maybe I think that would be it. Maybe producing something.
What have you done in your career that you are the most proud of, or what have you accomplished at?
I don't know if I've done it yet, but I've had lots of aha moments where you sort of go, wow, this is so great. Like the first Academy Awards I went to. Just that wall of sound that you see when you go on the red carpet, that you hear and see, and the bulbs and this, and you have fans on one side and then all the reporters on it. That is amazing the first time. Amazing. Cannes, the film festival at Cannes, walking up those red steps to the Palais. an amazing moment. And just to be there with, your client, it's an incredible feeling.
First time I walked up the red steps at the Cannes, they kicked me off.
Why? Because you didn't have a tie?
I didn't have the right tie.
Right.
You have to wear a bow tie,
bow tie.
black bow tie. And I had, regular tux tie. And I'm going, no, you can't come up the steps. And at the bottom of the steps, they have a guy selling the bow ties for $15.
By the way,
absolutely true.
It's a true story.
That is true.
I was in Cannes a couple of years ago with Ruth Negga for Loving, right? And her cousin was part of our group. And all of a sudden, he disappeared, and he was on the other side of the rope because he didn't have a bow tie, and no one had any. And no one. I'm like, I have money. Wait, I have money. And then finally, they let him in. But it was, yeah.
It's incredible.
How about the whole for women?
Shoe thing.
You couldn't wear flats. You had to wear heels. Yeah. It's like.
Tricky on those steps because
Yeah.
those are very narrow
Yeah.
steps
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy things you have to go through if you want to go to the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah.
Where do you envision the entertainment business going in the next 5 years? And try the next 5 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
And what can a young actor do to prepare for it?
Well, listen, again, I think it goes back to the content question and the way we look at, listen, I hope we all still love going to the movie theaters, but there's so many people that are watching, young people that are watching content on their mobile devices. And so that's, I think, going to still continue to play a very big part in the way the business goes.
It's so unpredictable. You said this before
Yeah.
tonight. Actually, you said there's so many things that you can't predict here
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
happening, and it's all happening almost so fast right now.
Yeah.
It's almost too much. This era that we live in, where
Right.
everything's out there 24/7. It's a different world.
Well, it's so funny. I remember the first time I watched a movie on my iPad, and I thought, this is so wrong. And now there's something so wrong about it, But
You're still right. It is so wrong.
It is. But I got a link. I had to watch something because I was meeting somebody. That. So then it's like it's convenient, but there's something so wrong about it.
But you don't want to watch Lawrence of Arabia on your keychain.
No, you don't.
Try not to do that.
Yes.
Even with all this technology. Is there one thing in your own career that you would go back and do differently if you could? Would you tell us? Okay. Well, that's.
Let's see. I don't think so.
Nothing changed. That's nice.
Yeah. I don't really have any regrets.
You learn as you go along and everything.
Listen, there are things that you think, shit, why'd that happen? Or why'd they tell them that I thought that was going to be a great part for them to do or something, right? And it turns out not to be. No, I don't have any regrets.
It's interesting. Do you tell your clients who are actors that they should be writing as well if they can? Do you encourage,
Yes.
in other words, your clients to be multifaceted in
Yes.
the business? Yeah.
I
Why
do
is
indeed.
that important?
Because if you want to, listen, the great parts are super competitive, right? And very few times people get breaks. Sometimes you do, and there are discoveries that are made, right? But I do think that if you can write your own piece and create your own content, that's added value, and to write something for yourself is incredible.
Yeah, the classic example in Hollywood of that was Sylvester Stallone with Rocky.
Yep.
He wrote that script. He'd not done much in movies at all, but he would not sell it, and Hollywood wanted it desperately unless he could star in it, which is like, wow, that's nerve. And look what happened.
Yeah. And again, a belief in yourself and feeling passionately about what you're doing, and keeping your eye on the prize. It's really Listen, we get a lot of rejection. We do. But that kind of stuff, that adversity ends up defining you. And you have to pivot and figure out another way, get past the obstacle.
Is there a philosophy at the different agencies if they're trying to decide which agency, if they're in such a position to be able to do that, they should go to? Is there a difference in a big way in terms of philosophy of agencies, do you think?
Well, you know what? It's hard for me to say about other agencies, you know, what the philosophy is at the top, right? I can tell you, because our company is all agent owned, we don't have any outside finance, we don't have anyone telling us how to run the agency. I think that has given us a real freedom to create a culture of real collaboration amongst the agents. There's a real esprit de corps. You know, my loss is someone else's loss, my win is somebody else's win, right? It's the whole, and that's been a really great thing to get to perpetuate at the agency. And so it's, you know, we bought the company back 6 years ago, and it really, I think, has made a difference. Our company has a lot of working parts. There are a lot of working parts at ICM, but we all work very well together. But it's not a company that wants to be a conglomerate, multimedia company. We're a company that wants to represent artists, whether it's an actor, writer, director, producer, you know, but it's about creating the art of representation. And I don't know if that always, I don't know if that is at the forefront of every big agency, frankly.
What about mediums? Because this question is, has TV officially overtaken film as the Vogue arena on which to work?
I have to tell you, listen, there used to be lines drawn about film actor, TV actor, that's erased. There is so much incredible content on television. You know, Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon are going to do a show for Apple. You know,
so is Jennifer Aniston and a whole bunch of people.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Got it,
And
Apple.
so, no, I think that. I mean, people, I think, still really love going to the movies. There's something really seductive and incredible about that, right? And sitting in the dark movie theater, especially at IPIC, where you can like lean back and have a cocktail, and it's like
IPIC in Westwood,
or in Pasadena.
Yeah, it freaks me out though, because you walk in there and they have a blanket there and they have a pillow and
they have a place for your purse.
Filmmakers are going like, well, this is like getting on a plane. I hope they don't sleep through my movie or something.
Well, hopefully it's a good movie.
How have the big agencies evolved in the age of social media and influencers? You sort of touched on that.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think that I do think that this idea of social influencers is interesting, although monetizing that is, I think, difficult, except for a few, right? But I do think social media, Instagram, Twitter, you know, all of those things can influence someone getting a job. You know, I get calls a lot for a client that has lots and lots of followers because they're interested in just adding that extra bit to a movie or something. So. I think social media definitely plays a part, but I can't really speak to the influencer side.
It's interesting, too. There's all these people I've never heard of that suddenly come out and they say they've got zillions of followers
Right.
because young kids are following them in different things, and they're suddenly getting cast in movies and different things, basically for being a personality on the internet.
Right.
Yeah. So it is a different world. Now, who wrote this? Because you've carefully written this out in dark ink, which is interesting. What should an out-of-work actor be doing to change that? Yes. And I just like, anybody in this room? All of you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, again, it's about just keeping your nose to the grindstone. You just gotta, and it's I hope you're getting opportunities to get in rooms. I mean, listen, as an agent, my job is to create an opportunity for you to get a job, right? And so then your part is to get to the 1 yard line, and then we can help push it over. But that's you know, it's really just about continuing to work on that muscle, continuing to really go out and take any opportunity to get in front of a camera. You never know where it might lead.
And this is interesting to me. What are the attributes you are looking for in a script for a client, because you get so many scripts you have to read, and you're really going to read the whole thing, or can you tell in the first 10 pages if it's right or not?
No, I can tell in the first, I would say 15 pages whether I'm going to like it or not, because the writing speaks to me or doesn't, right? But if there is, you can't get nuance from coverage. You can't, sometimes there's a part that's 3 scenes that's going to steal the movie. You can't get that from coverage. You have to read the entire script, right? No, I think if something moves me. I remember I read Sicario, and it was, and Taylor Sheridan I didn't represent, but I thought, oh my God, he's just made my entire week. It just was such an incredible read. And so it's just something that grabs you like that,
It's interesting with scripts too. Do you regret certain ones that got away, or you said, oh gosh, I wish I had...
Wish I'd gotten that for an actor, you mean?
Yeah.
Trying to think of one. No, not really.
Oh, that's another good one, yeah.
No, not really. Yeah. I mean, you're like, oh, okay, well, that's a good part, but it's all right.
I want to thank Lorrie Bartlett for coming out here tonight and giving us all this.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for being so great, you guys. Thank you.